complicates them. Join us on this journey as we explore the incredible potential of AI and its profound impact on society, uncovering the innovations and challenges that lie ahead. Embracing this technology can lead to groundbreaking advancements in how we live, work, and interact, making AI not just a tool, but a partner in our journey toward a smarter, more efficient future.
Now you see,
Does anyone actually know what AI is? Everyone's talking about it, but nobody's breaking it down. So for anyone who's completely new to this, let's talk about it. AI is otherwise known as artificial intelligence, basically training computers to think and act like humans. Sounds really nerve-wracking, bear with me. It's not really all that scary, and we use this stuff every day, whether we realize it or not. Things like language processing, automated driving, facial recognition, there's so many more. But the most common term that's been floating around these days has been OpenAI, such as things like ChatGPT. Basically, a prompt comes in, aka you tell it something, you're typing something in. The more information you provide, the more it reinforces and generates what you want to see. It continues to collect data with each prompt, so it can give you smarter answers each time. This is worth a whole separate video. But AI actually extends beyond ChatGPT, since all that AI does is it collects data, it identifies patterns and trends, and then AI is used to predict and make future decisions based on that initial data. I know it sounds intimidating, but we see it in the medical field, we see it in the automotive industry, and we see it in the banking industry too. X-rays, CT scans, all of that uses AI, self-driving cars, and basically in the banking industry, it analyzes large sets of data to spot patterns of suspicious activity. So if you ever got a notice from your bank saying, hey, there's been some suspicious activity, that's thanks to AI. The retail industry and financial sector also really benefit from AI due to customer service. It improves customer service and it helps assess risk. But with everything cool, there are some limitations, such as its inability to understand human emotions, of course, because it's a computer, and it's highly reliant on data. So if the data set is flawed, then your information might not be accurate. Also, it's not super scalable, and there's some questions about whether or not you can make ethical decisions using AI due to the lack of human emotion. And you hear of all these people being like, oh, I'm just going to use AI to generate everything. But they rarely check the work. Systems are subject to be flawed. They're not perfect. So if you are utilizing an AI system, make sure you're checking behind it. If you rely 100% on AI, it actually might hurt your business without checking the work behind it. Since again, humans can show emotion through words and AI just can't compute that. There's also a lot of rumors about how AI is going to impact the job market. But again, AI isn't perfect because you're more subject to plagiarism and incorrect data could also really skew your results. So when partnered with human intelligence, you can actually learn a lot from AI and speed up your work processes, but it doesn't replace humans altogether. Like and follow for part 2 so we can tell you more about what AI tools to use for your business.
All right, thank you. So you can see that AI is not just a tool. And that's one thing I want us to understand. We will start with how do we leverage AI as a tool and how do we leverage it as a co-partner. My slides, please. Thank you. So AI is not just a tool. It learns, adapts, and collaborate with us. You see, the word collaboration is the whole idea that unlocks a new world for you. The moment you start to collaborate with AI, start to work with it, another world just unlocks for you. Aside the fact that you use it to solve basic tasks. Now, AI, there's one very interesting thing that comes with AI. It gets better. The AI tomorrow will definitely be better than today. And that's because it learns from data. So AI feeds on data and it uses those data to make decision, create, and solve problems. Okay? So unlike when you have a fixed program, it improves continuously. And that's the beautiful thing with AI. When for those of us that start using ChatGPT, the kind of response you get when you started using it from 3, 4, 5, you'll see that it keeps getting better. And that's the beautiful thing because it grows along with you and also it helps you. Okay, so we're going to talk about using AI as a tool. We're not going to spend much time here, and the reason why I want us to look at this is because First of all, today's topic is AI for daily life, and let's see how people use AI to solve basic problems in terms of fashion. AI cuts across a lot of things for different categories of people, for students, for professors, for engineers, for families, creative content creation, and all those things. You can use AI for so many things. So we're going to see a couple of videos now. Let's just drop them. There's one super section. Start with fashion. So let's see how AI is being used in the fashion industry.
Does anyone actually know what AI?
Hello there, soulmates. Did you make a dress and you have it on your mannequin and you're wondering how it will look like on a life model, or you want it to be on a human model? Yeah, I can do that for you. All you need to do is to download ChatGPT, and once you do that, you enter the prompts that you want to work with. So for example, I want her to create a realistic model for me, and I'm going to upload the pictures of the dresses that I want. So I uploaded 3 pictures for several angles, but you can also upload just one. So once you upload this and you tell AI to create a model for you, it's going to bring it out. You can see what it's brought for me. And then I told AI to put it on an African model, and I want a side view. You can see what it brought out for me. So you can use this for anything you want. Even if you have the dress on yourself and you want it on another model, you can also do that. You can see how close to the boo this image that the AI created is for me. You can also use it to match two outfits. Maybe you like the half length of an outfit and you want to see it on another lower part, maybe a pants or a skirt. AI can also match that for you. You can see how it's matched this upper part to my jumbo pants to give me something really nice. If you also want to see it on a different size of model, you can use a plus size or whatever size that you want. So with this, you can elevate your outfit and just let AI do the magic for you. Thank you.
Okay, so can you see how interesting it is? And the beautiful thing is you can do all of this if you understand the power of prompting. So the result we get from AI is directly proportional to how you can ask it questions, and that's the part two of what we're doing. Okay, so let's just round up with part one. Another video, please, from another category. So you can see the way she keeps tweaking the functions. Okay, I want to see this boo boo. I want it on another model. I want it to be this.
Hello
color.
there, soulmates. Did you make a dress and you have it on your mannequin and you're wondering how it will look like on a life model, or you want it to be?
I think this video is probably going to be most helpful for bachelors in the house. I think this video is probably going to be most helpful for bachelors in the house. Or maybe even women too. Who knows? But have you ever gone into your kitchen or your refrigerator and the ingredients that you have are so scanty? But you are so hungry and you don't know how to make anything out of those ingredients into one solid meal that you can actually enjoy. There's actually a website that can help you make a meal or create a meal plan out of whatever ingredients you have available right now, and it's called supercook.com. With Supercook, all you have to do is add ingredients and voila, it's going to tell you all the different things that you can actually create with those ingredients. So the next time you go into your kitchen and all you have available is egusi, you can just add that into the ingredients list and it's going to tell you what you can do with it. You're welcome.
Do you know the interesting thing? He said that you can do that on the website, but the most interesting part of it is you can do all these things with ChatGPT. Because you see, we now have third-party AIs that have custom prompts to get desired results. But when you understand the power of prompting, you can have your own custom template and still achieve all of this. Can I have another video from another category?
You are a business owner and you are still looking for
Okay, these are for content
or
creators.
one expensive camera to shoot your content in 2025. No, let me vex you. Come on, go and use AI. Just take a look at this realistic product advert that I made with just one AI. In fact, you can use this one to run ads self, whether you are into skincare, you are into clothing, you are into cosmetic, whatever business you are into, you can actually use an AI to create a product advert commercial for yourself that you can use to run ads. I don't want to give this tutorial for free.
Making a song using AI part 2. First step, use ChatGPT for the lyrics. Write me a Latin song that talks about heartbreak and love with a Bad Bunny influence. Now we press enter. Tú la ves.
If you're an upcoming artist and you're still looking for a hit song, come closer, let me show you how to make a hit song with AI. It's not anyhow music, or it's not even Christian music, but better Afrobeat. Let me show you how to do it.
So the first thing you need to do is to go to chatgpt.com. So if you come to ChatGPT, you're going to tell it to create you an Afrobeat lyrics. So I'm going to say, create me an Afrobeat lyrics about.
Yeah, I quickly want to come in there. How many of us remembered when Pastor Mike took this and he said we can use Sonar, yeah? You can say that Sonar is a custom-made AI for music, but you can still do that on ChatGPT, provided you understand the right prompts. And that's why I said the most important part of this session is the part 2, not the part 1. But you need to understand the power of AI, how to use it as a tool. Then that way you can now leverage and go deeper into defining whatever prompt and the tool, the task you want it to perform. So continue.
Lyrics about, and you can tell it to create you any kind of lyrics. It can be about love, it can be about Nigeria, it can be about family, it can even be about heartbreak for some of you that want to be singing like Omale. So I'm just going to say create me an Afrobeat lyrics about heartbreak. Once you are done, you're going to click on enter. Then it's going to generate you with the lyrics. Copy the lyrics, go to suno.com. In suno.com, from simple, click on custom. Now it will give you a box where you can paste in the lyrics you copied from ChatGPT. Come under here and type in the style of the music, which is Afro beats. Then come under here and click on create and allow it to generate. Once it is done generating, you come over to my workspace and you're going to see it here. Omo, this is very nice. Oh. But yeah, let's play it to see how it sounds. Any upcoming time.
You said forever, now it's silence in the air.
Are you listening to this?
Every message, every picture, all this there.
Wow, this is very nice. This is very nice. So once you're happy with it,
This is how.
So you see, it's very interesting that every industry will be disrupted, whether we like it or not. So we need to actually embrace this. So this is the last one in this category, and then we'll move on.
I read 100 books a year using AI. All you have to do is get the PDF of the book you want to read. A lot of places sell it. Then you load this book into Natural Reader, which is a free AI voice app that you use to pretty much read the book to you. Whether it's, doing the dishes, or you're driving, or you're hanging out with the kids, or whatever the case may be, you put on your headset and you read the book. Then after you're done, you go to ChatGPT and you put the prompt that I'm going to put in the comments. And basically, it summarizes the book for you. And it's great because it allows you to make sure that you understood the book and that you got the special details about the book that you might have missed. So it's a great way to read 100 books, 200 books, however many books you want to read per year. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, yeah. So aside that particular AI, I discovered that Adobe AI also has Adobe has an AI, and trust me, in the last I started using it 2 weeks ago, and I can count the numbers of books I've actually gone through because of the power of AI. And there's one thing when it comes to reading and learning for me, I learn faster when I hear and see, when I use my two organs, seeing and hearing. So it makes it very interesting. When you're reading and you're looking at it, it's different from when you're hearing it. So imagine you're hearing and you're also looking at it. It makes reading really fast. And we can do so much with my slides. We can do so much with AI. So let's just quickly continue. That is using AI as a tool. And this is where it becomes a fair play for everyone. AI as the equalizer of what? Intelligence. Now, you see, traditionally, only the wealthy or highly educated had expensive books, the elite schools, and all of those things. But now, with your mobile phone, you have the same access to information. Okay, let's say some might be paid, but then you still, it's like a leveling, it has leveled the playing ground for everyone. And that is why AI disrupts the model. So, like, you see, one thing you need to understand is, gone are those days where I was speaking to Pastor yesterday. I said, gone are those days when for you to read, for you to come up with a particular structure, let's say for CV, for example. Have you seen people send their CV recently? And you're like, wow. But what happens is the disadvantage is that when the person now starts to deliver, you ask yourself, but this is not, how did you come up with this? That's one thing with AI. But you know, let's say 3, 4, 5 years ago, for you to come up with that structure, you must have had deep level of learning. You must have had access to information, and that's just one of those things I want us to understand. And now there's something, it says what, it doesn't erase inequality overnight, but it lowers the barrier of entry for education, entrepreneurship, innovation, especially in what regions like Africa. And it is going to be a big disadvantage to Africans, in Nigeria most especially, if we do not what, because it has lowered as much as our economy keeps raising the standard up, AI is bringing it down for us. So please, let's take advantage of this. I like the way you write it. All right, so look at this. It says, if you learn but don't apply, AI is what? Wasted. But if you apply, AI becomes what? Your breakthrough. So all of this that we're saying today is not just for you to just listen and just go back. No, you have to engage. Someone would say the steps of 1,000 miles, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. But it's not a correct statement. A step that is taken. You can't, for example, I remember my mentor would tell me that you want to plant maize. Let's say an approximate time for maize to germinate is 3 months. And you know that when you plant this maize, in 3 months you would harvest. But you know you cannot start counting until you have planted. So we need to start to take action. Because one thing about AI is that it learns from data. And if you don't start to feed AI certain data, you would not get any meaningful results. So the earlier you start to feed it data, the better for you. So let's quickly go. So this is one part that I really want to touch on, which says blueprint over best practices. I remember about 3 years ago, I bought some books on ChatGPT, and you know the funny thing, they are all what? Obsolete. And what is interesting is that you'll be noticing social media 5 years ago, it was different. Social media 10 years ago is different. Cesareka was saying something about social media. It keeps evolving. So one thing is that it's not always about the best practice. It's about understanding the foundation. That's the blueprint. The moment you understand the blueprint, it would always be easy for you to navigate. My friend will say something. He said he's not scared about what will happen in the future, because 2 things are constants that drives lives and business, and it is fear and greed. The moment you understand that any resultant effect, human will always respond to fear and greed. So any business model you want to build, anytime you build it around the concept of fear and greed, it has come to stay. So let's continue. So tools will change tomorrow, but if you know why, you would always master out. In my industry, I always tell my students, I say, if you understand why the market is moving, you have no business being scared of how it is moving. Because without why, you can't have how. How is what we see, but why is it moving? That is the most important thing, and that is what I want us to focus on today. Not all these videos you're saying. You can do all of that, but you need to know why they are getting those results, and that is how you engage the power of AI. Now, this is where we're going to round up the part 1, but I want to pick something here. He says, so what is AI? It's a technology that learns from data, yes, but most importantly, AI is your companion, your equalizer, and your creative partner. Now, you see, this creative partner is what I want to dig deep into. And I'm going to play a couple of videos, and I want you to listen attentively. Now, listen to what he has to say.
I believe that God gave us the ultimate formula for success in the very first chapter in the Bible, the very first time he talked to a human, which is kind of mind-blowingly amazing. It's almost like he gave us the wink and said, you don't get to chapter 2, you're going to be okay, right? And so it says in Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, right? I'm thinking, well, why would he do that? Like, God doesn't need anything, so why even bother, right? You don't need a heaven, you don't need an earth, you don't need a bunch of people doing a bunch of wonky stuff. So why would God create a heaven and the earth? And the only answer I've been able to discover is because he is creative, and therefore it is in nature to create.
Yeah.
Right? So God created everything as an expression of his creativity.
Yeah.
Cool. So the very first thing that God tells us about God is that he's creative.
Yeah.
The first thing he tells us about us is that he created us in his image, which means he created us to create stuff and he made us to make stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing God tells us about man. Well, the first thing he says to a human is in Genesis 1:27-28, where it says, and God blessed them and said unto them, be fruitful and do multiply, do replenish, do subdue, and have a dominion. So the first command is a fivefold command. Be, do, have. That's the command. That's the success formula. Be, do, have. Which means don't be, can't do, can't have. Be a little, do a little. Do a little, have a little. Be a lot, do a lot. Do a lot, have a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But what most people do, and what's fascinating even about that is the way that he made us. He put inside of us a very insatiable desire to have more, better experiences in this thing called life. Like your desire to be the best is a God-given desire. Your desire, everybody's desire to take a great vacation, to live in a decent house, to wear nice clothes and drive nice cars and have good relationships, those are all God-given desires. God gave us the desire to have so that we would yield to the willingness to do the thing that earns us the right to have it. Our desire to have without the willingness to do is what creates criminals. Like human beings desire to have without a willingness to do is what creates criminals.
Yeah.
It's what creates wrongdoing towards people. I want to have what they have, but I don't want to do the right thing to get it.
I don't want to earn it.
Right.
Yeah.
However, even people, like when people decide to change their life, that's why they start, okay, I'm finally willing to do the thing that earns me the right to have the stuff, right?
Yeah.
But they don't realize that.
All right, so you heard what he said. Be, do, have. We're getting somewhere. The second part will blow your mind, yeah? And you see, I remember I follow him a lot, and I saw that particular episode about 10 months ago, and he said something and it blew my mind. While I was preparing my slide and I saw, okay, you can use AI as a creative partner, and that is the summary of everything we need to do. We need to step out of the shell of using AI as a tool and create this, help me edit this, compose this, no. It's deeper than that, and you will not understand until we'll see this other video. Can you start the second one, please? Creativity too.
Explain more about that to us today.
Financial principles I've learned in my life is poor people and middle class people feel like everything is expensive because they pay for things with money they've exchanged their time for. So they feel like they're paying for everything with their life because they are.
It's time.
Right. You're trading time for money. So let's say, I got a couple of phones here. So let's say I've got some money. We're going to call this some money. I got some money.
Okay.
And I want to buy this car. And I've got some time. So what I do is I take some of my time and I trade my time to somebody for some money, and they give me the money. But when I get the money, I don't have the time anymore because the time's gone and I can't get it back. It's gone forever.
Yep.
Right? So then I see this car and I'm like, I got this money that I've changed my time for, and I'm going to take this money that I've changed my time for, I'm going to trade that in for this car. So now I don't have the time and I don't have the money anymore, but now I have the car. And now the car is becoming worth less over time. Right? So I've traded an invaluable asset for a limited asset, and then traded the limited asset for a depreciating asset. And I wonder why I'm getting broker. Right? Okay? So that analogy made sense, right?
Yep.
But watch this. If I'm an entrepreneur, and the thing that I create, because I obsess over other people's problems, is I create offers. So now, because I pay for things with offers, everything costs the same amount. It doesn't matter if it's this watch or this phone, this iPhone, which I think they're about $1,700, $1,800 now, I guess, for an iPhone, for a phone, right? Which, that sounds crazy, right? Okay, or a brand new car, or a house, or a private island, or a mountain, or a private jet, or this bottle of water.
Right.
It all cost the same amount. Now, I know that sounds crazy, and that's why I'm saying it slowly, so people can say, I'm saying this like this so people can begin to disagree with me in their mind.
Yeah.
So that when I prove it, they can be so blown away, like, oh man, my brain just melted, right? And so this water, this phone cost me no more than this bottle of water. This watch was a gift, so I can't use that. But my car, whichever car you want to talk about, whichever one of my cars you want to talk about, cost me no more than this bottle of water. Why? Because I pay for everything according to my creativity. Notice what I didn't say. I didn't say I pay for things with my creativity. I didn't say I pay for things out of my creativity. I didn't say I pay for things from my creativity. I said I pay for things according to my creativity. Now, why is that important? If I paid for it out of, with, or from my creativity, after I paid for it, I'd have less creativity than I had before I paid for it.
Yeah.
But if I pay for it according to my creativity, I can pay for it using creativity and have no less creativity after I paid for it than I had before I paid for it. That is a game changer. One of the greatest awarenesses of my life on planet Earth in 63 years is what I just said. Now, what does that mean? I'm going to look at something I'd like to buy, and it's outside my current spending comfort zone. So what would that be for somebody? Just whatever. It doesn't matter. Just tell me what that would be for somebody.
100,000.
Yeah, but what's the thing I'm going to buy?
A car.
A car. I'm going to buy a $100,000 car. Okay, so I can look at that car, and if I make $100,000 a year, I ask the question, is this worth a year of my life? If I say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create an offer. I'm going to create a $5,000 offer, and this $5,000 offer is going to create a transformation for somebody that's worth $50,000 to them. So they're going to pay me $5,000. So when I create the offer, I have to use creativity to create the offer. Right? So now I'm using my creativity to create the offer. So I create the offer, and then a person gives me money for the offer, right? So they give me the money, boom, I give them the offer. Guess what? I don't have the money anymore, but I gave them the offer. They paid me for it, but I still have the offer. They bought it, but I still have it, which means I can sell it to somebody else. So this one person gave me $5,000. That doesn't preclude me from selling that same $5,000 offer to another person, or another 10 people, or another 100 people, or another 1,000 people, right? So I still have the offer. I still have the creativity that I used to create the offer, and I have the money. Now I take the money and I go buy the car. I don't have the money anymore, but I have the car, the creativity, and the offer, which means I can go sell the offer again and replace the money that I no longer have because I spent it on the car.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if I'm creating an offer that makes me enough money to pay for a bottle of water, I'm creating an offer that pays me enough money to pay for a car, or I'm creating an offer that pays me enough money to pay for a plane, or I'm creating an offer that pays me enough money to buy an island. It doesn't matter. I'm creating an offer. If I have a $5,000 offer and I sell that to 20 people, that's $100,000. If I sell it to 200 people, that's $1 million. If I sell it to 2,000 people, that's $10 million. If I sell it to 20,000 people, that's $100 million. Well, that's just mathing.
Yeah.
Right? But guess what I still have? I still have all of the creativity that I had when I created the offer. But the reality is I actually have more because now I've created this new asset. And I know how to create an asset. So guess what else I can do? I can go create another one. And so that's what I mean when I...
Mind blowing, yeah. You see, when Jesus died and said it is finished, it's a loop. We as Christians, we need to find ourselves in that loop and function. Can you see how powerful creativity can be? And now AI is your creative partner. Very interesting. So, my slides,
Explain
please.
more about that to us.
So this is where we start to move into the interesting and more technical part, which says what from tools to what thinking partner. So what is AI? It's a technology that learns from data, yes, but more importantly, AI is your companion, your equalizer. That means what? It levels the playing ground for you, your creative partner, and it's not just here to help you work faster, but it is help to what? Think bigger. Now, I have to put that out there. It says, I pay for things according to my creativity. That means the more creative you can be, the more you can create things with your partner, the more valuable you can be for. And money is an exchange of value. Okay? It's either you're selling something or you're rendering a service. So if you're creating offers, for example, let's say you create a course and you sell this course to this person for, let's say, $1,000, you still have the course. In the process of creating the course, you've become better. You can try to say, okay, you don't like the way you spoke, yeah, and you can still refine it, make it more better. But you still have the course. It doesn't take anything out of you. But someone has paid for that value. And that is why when we get to the entrepreneurship part of this and AI, you want to create offers for people that have very deep pockets. That means you have to provide solutions to people that you know that they have the money. And that is why you see some people would provide solutions for big men, in quote, very rich men, because they can pay. And it doesn't reduce your creativity, okay? So let's continue. It says, I pay for everything according to my creativity, not from it, not out of it, not with it. Why this matters is that what if you pay from creativity, you are spending it like money. Okay, that's when you pay from it. Just like say you have $1,000 and you spend $200, you're left with $800. That is you paying out of it. Okay, but when you create according to your creativity, your creativity expands as you use it, and that is one thing about when you use your AI. It grows with you. And one very beautiful thing is when you we'll get there. I don't want to rush. Okay. So this applies to AI. The more creatively and intelligently you use it, the more powerful it becomes as a code thinker, not just a calculator. Now, the funny thing is when AI is a garbage in, garbage out thing. If you ask it very stupid questions, trust me, you will get very stupid response. But when you ask it some questions, at times you get ones like, wow, this is deep thinking. It doesn't, you don't understand. How many of you have tried asking AI some questions and it gives you response like, oh, this is on another level. Okay. I remember there was one time I was on a project and I was asking the AI, okay, do this, do this, do this, do this. At the end of the day, I asked, okay, I said, what are the loopholes? Do you know, to my greatest surprise, I had more loopholes than the answer I was looking for. So I had to go back from the beginning. And that is the idea of being able to generate good prompt, okay? So let's just quickly, prompting. So let's look into prompting and see how we can talk to
Most
the AI.
people think prompting is just typing, like write me an email or give me 10 ideas. But prompting isn't browsing. It's not about commands. It's about context and outcomes. And if you don't learn how to think in prompts, you might be left behind by those who do. Listen, most people treat prompting like...
Okay, I want to comment there. Before we go any further, remember the time where you go and Google all those search engines and you search for something and you have to type this, you have to type that, you have to do that. A lot of us are still approaching AI like that. You know, tell me this. So some of people don't know how to use all these keywords. But trust me, AI is on another level. So can we? Yes. From the beginning again.
And then blame the AI. But prompting is just typing, like write me an email or give me 10 ideas. But prompting isn't browsing. It's not about commands. It's about context and outcomes. And if you don't learn how to think in prompts, you might be left behind by those who do. Listen, most people treat prompting like they treat food. They ask, they hope, they click around.
It's from the video.
And coding isn't typing, it's architecture. Prompting isn't typing, it's thinking. Prompting, in my opinion, is about designing the result in your head and translating it into a prompt that an AI can understand and execute with precision. It's, I believe, a communication protocol between human intention and machine execution. And in 2025, this is the new language of power. Because if you don't know how to communicate with intelligence, you might end up being managed by it. Look, for a while, I used to worry quite a bit that AI would make people stop thinking, outsource their brain and lose their edge. That if we relied too much on it, our brains would atrophy like any muscle that's not trained enough. But most recently, I've come to realize that AI does not kill thinking. It exposes it. It makes your thought process visible, sharpened, and testable. The difference between the lazy and the leveraged is not the tool. It is how clearly they can define what they want. Because prompting doesn't replace your brain. It trains it. It trains you to break down goals into systems, to map chaos into outcomes, and to speak with intention, not noise. Because that is the game now. It's not typing, and it's not commands. It is clarity of thought translated into action. But most people won't get this. They will scroll, ask ChatGPT to do their homework, but the ones who learn how to think in prompts, they will build businesses, products, movements with leverage that no one else sees. Look, every revolution has its interface, right? In the late 1980s and the early 1990s, it was the spreadsheet, a simple grid that made data legible and that turned anyone who mastered it into a decision maker. Think about this. People built entire careers on Excel. And I should know, I studied to be an auditor and ended up in consulting. And it's not just consultants, right? CFOs, analysts, operators. It's not just because they were the smartest, but because they knew how to translate information into formula that ran a business. But today, the interface is not the spreadsheet. It's the prompt window. A lot sleeker, a lot simpler, but most of the time, what is simple is not necessarily easy. But I believe those who master it will not just automate tasks, they will scale thinking itself. Because if you've been around, you know what I believe. I believe this is the new leverage, and prompting is the entry point to high leverage thinking. So, if prompting is thinking, then what kind of thinking actually matters? Because not all thoughts lead to results. Some lead to noise, and others to leverage. And that is why the best prompt writers do not just know how to talk to AI, they know how to think in models, in frameworks, first principles, systems thinking. Bear with me, these are not buzzwords from productivity YouTube, okay? They are.
You heard what she said. She said, you need to think in prompt. And that is where the magic is. Thinking and prompting, not just talking, not just using AI to tell me this, explain this to me. You see, we've evolved from a generation where, because there was one time I asked someone, I said, what is the future of education in Nigeria? Because I remember when I was in school, it was a factor of who can answer questions. And I don't think there's any question AI cannot answer. So where does education stand? And the person said that we're going into an era where it's a factor of who can ask the most questions. Now, you cannot ask, if you do the best questions, you cannot ask if you are not grounded. And that is when you find prompting very challenging. Because most of you will think, oh, AI is easy to use. Trust me, have you tried to talk to ChatGPT, you're trying to get a project done, and for every time you're trying to converse with it, you're not getting the right response, and you're like, what are you doing wrong? You have to clear the chat, you start again, okay, do this, and it becomes really frustrating. And that is where you understand that brain work is a lot of power. When you have to do things with your strength is a factor of how strong you are. But when it comes to thinking, it can be draining. You can burn out. And that is what we need to understand. As much as everybody is tilting towards, okay, AI can solve problem, everything was seen since money is just a shortcut to get results. But the most important thing is the ability to what? Think in AI. Do you know one very funny thing? There's a shortcut to think in AI as well. I'll tell them to play the video. How to even ask ChatGPT to give you prompt to ask its question. But the real truth is, for those people that will be grounded, like she said, for those people that will evolve, are the people that can actually think in prompt. Can you play that video?
If you struggle coming up with content ideas, here's a ChatGPT prompt that's going to solve all your problems. You see, most content creators are using AI completely wrong. Most content creators use ChatGPT like this, and it's terrible. Oh, give me 10 content ideas for the weight loss niche. And let me tell you right now, it's just not going to work. So here's a ChatGPT prompt to solve this issue and give you endless content ideas. Step number 1, go to ChatGPT. Duh. And then step number 2, type this exact prompt in there. Give me 20 short form video ideas in a table format. Each idea should 1, be designed for mass appeal in your niche, that's where you put it in. 2, hook viewers instantly with bold claims or curiosity. 3, be easy to execute, no complex production or storytelling. And 4, use proven engagement triggers like storytelling, controversy, emotional aspects, or unexpected insights. Return these ideas in this exact table format, idea type, hook, and why it works. And no, you don't have to copy and paste all that, just comment the word prompt and I'll send it over. And from there, ChatGPT will give you a downloadable spreadsheet.
So you can say that, I don't know if he has done the thinking, but then he's still trying to lead it around. But you see, one thing with the whole line of prompting was it was well structured. And you cannot have that structure if you can't think correctly. And that is what challenges you. That's the biggest challenge when it comes to prompting. So to unlock the level of partnership, you need to learn how to speak its language. I remember when God wanted to scatter those people that they were building the Tower of Babel. It was just one thing: misunderstanding. They did not understand each other's language again, and the project just ended there. So for you to understand AI, for you to leverage artificial intelligence, you must be able to speak its language. And now look at it. Prompting isn't typing random questions. What is the meaning of this? Oh, what is the meaning of that? Okay, I'm going. It's the art of what? Thinking clearly and creatively with AI. So that is the whole basics of everything we're doing today. To be able to what? Think clearly. And that opens another world. Now look at this. How to prompt not just for answers, but for insight. You know, there's vision with your sight and there's vision with your mind. And you see, and that's where prompt comes in, because AI can only reflect the what? The quality of the mind speaking to it. Out of the issues, we said, out of the abundance of mind, the issue. So if you see it as a tool, you'll be asking what? 2-level questions. But if you see it as a thinking partner, you would engage in what? Creative dialogue. And I noticed there was a couple of times I've tried to use AI to solve problems, and I just have an idea of something and I tell it, then it structures it well, and it's very interesting. You know, when you have conversations, and at times I start to ask myself, what's the essence of going to school to start with? When you have a tool you can speak to and you can learn all these things. But not to worry, the beautiful thing is, some of us are still not going to leverage it. That is how sad it is. The guy was saying something, and you know, a business idea opened up to me that if you go into prompt engineering and you understand or you have catalogs of prompts, do you know when people run into roadblocks of, oh, they can't get this task done, whether we like it or not, everyone will start to use AI. But it has to do with position. I remember, was it last year or mid last year or this year, where we had one series and Pastor was talking about Zacchaeus. I cannot forget. He said that Zacchaeus was a short man, and anytime I run into trouble, I always remember that analogy. And he said he wanted to see Jesus. There was a lot of people. He could not see Jesus. He was short. A very big disadvantage. What did he do? He ran ahead of the multitude. That's one thing. Positioning. So now that AI the revival is spreading like wildfire, we as individuals need to have something called strategic positioning. Now, what did Zacchaeus did? He climbed the tree. It was in Pastor's notes, he said it was very difficult for someone of that stature to climb the tree. But what happened? Jesus saw him. And he said, come. So we need to position ourselves. And one of the ways to position ourselves when it comes to AI is prompting. Prompt engineering. Okay, everybody is using AI. Do you know how to use it? We're talking about critical thinking, doing that, evolving from just using AI as a tool to what? More than a tool. So there's a video I'm going to play, AI-driven leader, the first one. So I want us to see how, you see, the whole thing is you have to reverse engineer this thing. There's one Bible verse I always like to quote. It will say, except the corn of seed falls to the ground and die. And you see, death is the recipe for life. So we have to reverse engineer it and not just use it as a tool, but more than what a tool. Can you play the video? Thank you.
Explain more about that to us today. Jeff, welcome to On Leadership.
Scott, thanks so much for having me.
Hey, welcome back. You joined us, I don't know, a couple of years ago, talked about a lot of different topics, and since then you went into a deep writing mode where you have just written this soon-to-be seminal book about leadership and the role that AI plays in growth in teams and engagement, and not just efficiency and productivity, but about growth inside organizations. It's interesting, this morning you and I had a very early conversation. We are friends in life, and also I'm delighted to feature your new book on the podcast. And I asked you, Jeff, with my donut and coffee in hand as I'm walking around the block, tell me how your book is different from all the other AI books coming out right now. And you said what to me?
I said every other book is pushing AI as a solution, looking for a problem. And it's completely backwards because AI adoption is not your goal. Growth of your organization is your goal. And now it's about you as the leader, how you harness your people and your technology to achieve your most ambitious goals. So ours is strategy first, technology second.
So Jeff, for being as young as you
Thank
are.
you. See what he said. Harnessing the power of what? AI. So we're not just using it to solve problem. He has reversed engineer it. So he cited a very interesting example. So let's listen to it and then we'll just walk through.
To lead out on AI doesn't mean that they're using the tool every day, but there's certainly, a practice leader, as you call it, in terms of understanding the proficiency and opportunities. Talk about what someone experiences when they're part of this, sort of esprit de corps group, and what's the average person that joins the collective? What's their competency? How much of a troglodyte, technology-wise, are they?
Great. Everything that we do is around your ability to think strategically and make faster, smarter decisions. We are not pushing tech as a solution looking for a problem. We're asking the question, how do we enhance your thinking and decision-making at a leadership level? And how can we harness the tools at our disposal, which AI is a phenomenal tool for this, to help you do it smarter, faster, better. A month ago, Scott, I sat down with a CEO and I asked him what his biggest challenge was. And he said, Jeff, I own a manufacturing company. We signed a capital equipment lease with a company out of Japan. Things have shifted with our organization, and now the debt structure is literally killing our company. We will go bankrupt if the debt does not get restructured. And I said, oh my gosh, that's a very tough problem. What have you done? And he walked me through all the things that he had tried doing and why they didn't work. But it really boiled down to the fact that this was a Japanese company that was publicly traded, and the board viewed restructuring the debt as something that would make them lose face in Japanese society. That's the situation that this CEO is dealing with. And he looked at me and he said, can AI help? And I said, let's find out. If you're viewing AI as a Google or an assistant, you're deeply underestimating its potential and the impact it can have in your life. Yet if you view it yourself as a thought leader and AI as your thought partner, this is a powerful synergy. So here's what we did. I opened up an AI model and I wrote a very strategic prompt. Everything I just shared with you, Scott, in terms of I'm the CEO of this company, the Japanese board, the debt, the things that they did in the past, I put all of that into the prompt. And then I said, I want you to act as an investment banker with deep expertise in restructuring debt. Interview me by asking up to 3 questions. Just ask them one at a time so that you can gain additional context. And then I want you to generate 5 non-obvious strategies that I could deploy that would get the board to restructure the debt. The very first question AI asked was, do you have relationships with other influential executives in Japan that the board would respect. The CEO looked at me and went, "Holy smokes, I do." And so we typed in the information. And then it asked two more questions very focused on Japanese culture and society. He answered them, and then it said, here's your 5 non-obvious solutions. The very first one was called the Saving Face Consortium. It suggested that this CEO actually had enough relationships with other influential executives that he should consider approaching them to acquire the debt with extremely favorable terms, which would allow the debt to get restructured and the Japanese board to save face. He looked at me and said, "Jeff, for 90 days, I have been wrestling with this, thinking this was going to put us out of business. And in less than 10 minutes, here's a solution that I actually think could work." Scott, I literally texted him yesterday to see what's happened, and he said, the ball is moving. We're not there yet, but we're close, and I think this is going to work.
Does that make sense? So you can see how interesting. So you have to use AI as a brainstorming partner that evolves with you. And it evolves with you on your own capacity. It grows along with you. So don't just ask, how do I use AI? You need to start asking questions. How do I collaborate with what? With AI. Now, this is where it becomes really interesting, and this is what we need to understand. For us to be able to use AI properly, for us to be able to leverage the power of artificial intelligence, we must be able to understand how it thinks and how we interpret our prompt. Because that's the magic of everything. The ability to ask the right questions. And that is what I'm talking about. That's why you see we have what? The large language model. Okay, so what is a large language model? Is an AI system trained to understand and generate human language. It is called large because it has been trained on what? Billions of words from books, websites, codes, and conversation. And that is why I tell you that AI thrives on data. You can see that it has access to what? You cannot train the AI if you do not have data. And that is why at times when you ask questions about Africa, you don't really get much rest. It's because we don't have enough data feeding it. So if we as Africans start to engage it and we have questions, the reason why we have all those responses, it has been billions of words. We'll get to that part. So listen, think of it as this. It's a massive brain that has read almost what? Everything. And learn the pattern behind how we communicate. Now, what does it actually do? When you type a message, you prompt your large language model like ChatGPT breaks down. This is how, because at times some of you would say, okay, how does ChatGPT interpret? Because that was the first challenge I had. How do I say, I'm not a programmer, how do I say, do this? And ChatGPT would convert that do this to his own machine language and give me a response. And this is it. It says, it breaks it down into what? Tokens, tiny chunks of text. Finds the what? Pattern. And you can see that AI is actually evolving. It started with the whole idea of when you want to type who is. How many of us used to say that suggestion? That was how it started from. Who is. At times you see Netflix and the next thing is, okay, this is recommended by you because of algorithms. So that is how we started. Well, that was how the old journey started from AIs on our little phones and doing this, engaging in conversations, okay, auto reply and all that. So there are models here, and that is why it now finds pattern in what you're asking for in the tone on what? Context. It predicts the next best word. For example, if there's a particular exercise we're going to do, and you would understand where this is coming from. So it predicts the next word again and again until it forms what? An intelligent answer. Now, one very interesting thing about, okay, I'll get to that part. So, So LLM don't know things in human sense. They predict meaningfully based on what? Everything they have learned, and that is what? Data. So why are they powerful? They are powerful because they are trained on what? Massive text. Okay, they understand the context, what you mean, not just what you say. That is why, for example, I have an example here. Okay, there's something I want us to talk about. How to use ChatGPT or how to customize your ChatGPT. He said something, the example with the CEO, that, okay, he said, okay, act, if, after giving it certain information, he said, act like a follow CEO and interview me. For those of you that want to go for interviews and you don't have past questions, gone are those days. You can just give ChatGPT or the AI the information of the company you want to work with and tell it, okay, this is everything about this company, this is what they do, this is the role I'm trying to apply for. Act as an interviewer and ask me questions. You will be blown. About there's a friend of mine that works for a fintech and he wanted to go for an interview and I told him to do that. You know, by the time you decide asking him questions, he was just giving them answers because ChatGPT will ask you questions that you will not even think about. When you want to tailor your CV, there's a way you can tailor your CV to suit what the company is requesting. And, you know, when he came back from the interview, he told me, bro, in fact, they don't know what I did to them. He got the job. Because what? He has done his work. And that is one thing, and that is how you can use. So you can use ChatGPT for so many things. You can say, okay, act like my professor, I'm doing this, act like my professor, ask me questions on this thing. It would. Okay, act like my mom, what's most likely going to happen? But you have to feed it certain prompts to be able to understand where you're coming from. And I'm going to how to make a custom ChatGPT, so not custom ChatGPT, I just like ChatGPT, a custom AI to play certain roles. It can play a lot of roles. It can play the role of a therapist, it can play the role of an engineer, it can play the role of a mentor, it can do so many things. And you can also play the role of thinking as well with you, suggesting. So please let's play that.
Then we've got custom instructions. This is where you can basically teach ChatGPT how you want it to talk to you permanently. You log in, click on your little profile picture, then hit settings, then personalization, then click on custom instructions. Here you'll see a few options where you tell it about yourself and what you like. Another where you tell it exactly how you want it to respond. Like you could say, always explain things to me like I'm brand new to the topic, or always use bullet points when giving me steps. Save it, and then from then on, every chat you will have will feel way more tailored to you. No need to repeat yourself every time.
Okay, speaking of that, when we go into prompting deep, there's something that I learned recently, and is when you achieve a successful task on ChatGPT, always tell it to generate a prompt for you. For example, let's say you're trying to solve a problem or a task, and you get the task done after arguing for hours. You just say that, create a prompt that next time when I ask you this question, we don't have to do all of this. So anytime you use ChatGPT, always tell it to create a prompt for you, and that way you have a catalog of prompts that you would save. And anytime you want to engage in AI, you just go to your catalog, pick the relevant prompt that suits that particular task, and you get it started. So how does AI understand your language and how it turns it into a code? Okay, since AI doesn't think in English, it thinks in pattern. When you speak to AI in Yoruba, Pidgin, I'm going to try to talk to your AI in Pidgin. It'll be alpha now, and it will respond to you. So it does that because it is not like it understands the human code, but then it converts your words into patterns of numbers, and they call it what? Tokenization. So for example, let's say, when you say, write me a letter to my pastor, the AI sees it as small pieces. It says, write me. How many of you did programming? C++, Java. You would say that when you write, you don't joke with all these comments and all these brackets. So each of these tokens becomes a set of numbers, kind of like a coordinate on a map. And AI has learned the logic of what? Language. So during training, while they were, I remember when they launched DeepSeek, it was a very, very nasty. In fact, when you ask questions, you will get another response entirely. And that was because it was still in the training phase. And that is, he said, during training, AI reads billions of sentences from books, codes, articles, conversations. And that is why when you go to your AI, you will see a part there that says, don't use my conversations as a model. There's that part on your ChatGPT. When you go to, you will say, so that it keeps learning. I have to tell you, don't share personal information with it because it is still what tests. And that is why I said the AI tomorrow would always be better than the AI today because it keeps learning. This person is prompting this person is asking these questions, this person is asking these questions. And you know, we are asking a particular AI, different questions in the same field, the way we think is different. And you're asking it this, I'm asking it. Imagine 50 people are asking AI different questions and it's giving them different responses. You will be shocked that when you say, that is why when you are not satisfied with a response and you tell it to send you, it would continue to give you different response until you get, and it's because it's still in that test phase. Now, it learns the certain words usually appears together or flow certain rules. So, okay, write me a letter. Now, that's the instruction. Then to my pastor is the audience. AI looks at all the possible next words that could logically or contextually follow those patterns. And it doesn't translate text into English sentence. It translates into what? Mathematical relationships. Now, look at this, guys. There's a particular... Okay, look at this. If I say AI will change the... What comes to your mind? World. Okay, look at this. World, future, economy. And that is what large language model does. Just the same way you're able to say, okay, this is the most correct sentence or the next word to fit in. So that is just how it works. So ChatGPT doesn't just get one word. It predicts what? Deep context across entire sentence, paragraphs, and conversation. And that is why that's what differentiates all these new GPTs from search engines. Search engines will just give you a link, you have to be doing all of that, but it would what? It will even hold the conversation. When you ask it, oh, tell me about this, not only will it give you what you're asking for, it will still give you backup point. Okay, I think I have to run through this. Okay, let's quickly talk about the principles of prompt engineering and how do we ask the right questions, because the most important thing is we should able to ask the right questions. So there are different structures that you need to follow. It's a formula. The first thing is clarity. Okay, so you have to be very specific on what you're asking it. For example, I have an example here. It says, explain AI. That's a prompt. The second prompt says, explain AI to a 10-year-old using a cooking analogy in 3 sentences. You can see the clarity in what? In the approach and in the prompt. The second one is give a context to it. Okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm holding this position and I'm having this problem. You have defined the context of what you wanted to do. You have explained to it, okay, this is what you... So you understand that, okay, you are actually heading this position. You have this problem with your boss. It will analyze it and what? Give you a suitable response. Then you have constraints, then what? Creativities. And please, when you use ChatGPT, always be open. Don't have a closed conversation. We have some prompts that are closed prompts. When we go deep into prompt engineering, hopefully when we get to prompt engineering, you will see that we have different types of prompts. We have open prompts, we have closed prompts. Closed prompts are those prompts that just say, okay, tell me this, I end there. No, let your prompt be always open. When you ask it a question or when you want it to do it at a particular task, always be open to the AI also giving you its suggestion. And that might even go a longer way than what you're seeking for. Okay, so look at this. It says what? Vague prompt equals what? Vague answers. So when you ask it very lame questions that doesn't have any deep depth, you would also get response like that. So the whole idea and what I want us to take away from today's training is that what? First of all, we have to think in prompt. Secondly, we have to use our AIs as a creative partner, because you always, one of the arc of life is being able to pay with your creativity. Okay, so according to your creativity. So if you have an AI that helps you with creativity, and for everything you want to, let's say you want to buy a car now, and the next thing that comes to your mind is, what value can I give that would equate the money for this car? That is when being able to produce, and that is where creativity comes in. So when you start to use AI as a creativity partner, a thinking partner, you think in prompt, a new world unlocks for us. Whatever job you're doing, whatever task, the industry, always be quick to... I was trying to set up an apartment, and the guy I called said it was going to, I think it was charging me 2M to do the whole installation, and I was like, what's going to happen? I didn't have 2 million. So I said, okay, let me do this. So it just occurred to me that, guy, you can use AI for this thing. So I took a picture of the space, started with, okay, what are the best sofas I can actually use? It gave me the suggestion, I selected it, okay, there's. Then I went to where they were selling rugs. If you see that part there, so that was the rug. I was like, okay, I want a center rug. What particular color will fit into this? I didn't put that picture there, but you see that particular side, you will see it gave me the structure and everything. And this was the result at the end of the day. I had to tweak it to something I wanted. And it was because I got the idea. At some point, I was having brain blocks and I was like, okay, would I be able to get this? But you know, when you have different suggestions, it's telling you, you can do it like this, you can use this, you can use that. And that was just what? The aftermath of the old dialogue. So thank you so much. And
let's thank him. It was meant to be a 30 minutes presentation. It ended up being a 1 hour presentation, but it was worth every minute, wasn't it? All right, we're going to do a quick assignment, and those of you who have the courage could come and connect your iPad or your phone to our laptop. But the assignment is very simple because of time. We're going to do only one, and I'm going to invite Dr. Adegbola to come and round up and take questions, and Myus will take a few questions as well, and then we're done for today till next week. What I want you to do now, what is the biggest challenge you're facing right now? Can you put up the context guide, the one that he showed just now? Go back. So what's the biggest problem you're facing right now, either in your career, in your family, in your home, or in church, or in your unit, or as a person? What's the biggest one that you're facing? Go back. Yeah. So we need you to be very specific about it, all right? Now, what role do you want the AI to play in your situation right now? If you have marriage issues, you want it to be a marriage counselor, a seasoned marriage counselor. You can always add simple things like familiar with African culture or Nigerian culture and all that. Are you here? Then set boundaries. Okay, I'm a Christian. Therefore, you know what I mean? My values must come out of the Bible. You get the point I'm making? Then I want you to add something, which is you must ask it to ask you 3 questions that will help you zero in on what you're going through. 3 questions. It's to ask you 3 questions that will help you zero in. So if you have a marriage issue, ask it to ask 3 questions that will help it give you better advice. All right? Like I said, set constraints, which are your Christian faith. You know what I mean? Your cultural issue. You can say things like divorce is not an option. Am I making sense? You have to use it in your context, you know. Divorce is not an option. Fighting is not an option. Beating my wife is definitely not an option. Or my wife beating me is definitely not an option. You understand? And then, what's your creative angle to it? What do you want, you know, it to do? It's like, are there areas I am not looking at? That's why I want it to be a real problem. Are there areas I'm not looking at? I want to go abroad. I found it difficult to have visa. Are there areas I'm not looking at that would have been easier for me to get visas? You see what I mean? Ask it to go in a direction you normally wouldn't go. Those 3 questions will help you to channel it a little bit better. So do you have all of that? It's not going to take the AI more than a few seconds to answer this question. But it's going to take you a longer time prompting it. So you've got to deal with that now. You've got to deal with that now, all right? Now, I'm going to ask anybody who's gotten, when I tell you to enter it, I'm going to ask anybody who's gotten the most, what they feel is an answer they never considered before, to come and give us as an example. And anybody else who wants to show us how his own process went, the questions it asked, you can easily connect it to the laptop, but you have to have either an HDMI slot so that they can connect the HDMI to your system, otherwise they won't be able to take it from you. Or there is a phone system that is wireless that they also use. And then after that, like I said, Dr. Adegbola will come, do a quick overview, and then take questions from everybody, and then we'll close. I was hoping we could finish at 12. Well, we're still going to aim for that. All right? Are you ready now? You can enter it. Anybody want to? The responses should come up in a few minutes. Now you can ask further questions. You don't take the first answer it gives you. You don't have to. But make sure you're using a system that is familiar with you. Don't go and, if it's a fresh, if you're just using the AI for the first time, it doesn't know anything about you, so it's going to give you general knowledge, which is still useful, but it's not specifically tailored. That's why I asked you to ask it to ask you certain questions. And if you're not satisfied, let's ask you more questions. Are you here? Let's be clear about this. Go to the example you gave the other time. Go to the next. I think it's 2 slides down. And there was a video that was, yeah, context, act like a lawyer, constraints, explain in 3 bullet points, creativity, allow storytelling, analogies, and brainstorming. All right? So it can give you fresh ideas. We should be done by now. Huh? Have you put up the barcode for them to access the internet? You can't use the back screen. You have to use the smaller screen in front because the lines on the screens will not allow the barcodes to be complete, okay? So don't bother to use that. Use the one on the TVs. Does anybody want to come and read out what they got so far? Nobody has the courage? The matter is so personal. I want to have 2 wives. Oh, ChatGPT. Tell me how to go around it. How do I break the law of the Bible to marry 2 wives? Is that what you wrote that you're ashamed to come and read? Anybody have anything you want to share with us? We want to show you how practical and real this is. This is not rocket science, or it's not something that you can't start doing immediately today. I found out that when I talk to unit heads and people in church, they say they have a problem. They don't go to ChatGPT and ask a question. I'm the HOD of this. I want to come up with systems and processes for my unit and give it context. So they come back, and if they ask me, I will use ChatGPT to answer them. So that's the problem. So why are you coming to me? Listen, this thing can really help you and your children to be better thinkers. I don't believe for one moment, I think those who think better are the ones going to get advantage on AI, not those who don't think at all. Those who don't think at all would always look for shortcuts. All right? Anybody want to help me? Okay, you want to read out what you have? Tell us the question.
Okay, my question is, hi AI, I live in Ibadan, and I find it difficult to get taxis to go around to church, work, everywhere I need to go. How do I make it easier to get taxis to go around? And then I told AI, ask me 3 questions on how to get solutions to this. So the first question AI asked me is, what's your typical day like? Typical day and weekly schedule like? Then he also asked, do you currently use any ride-hailing apps like Bolt, Rider, or InDriver? Then he also asked, what's my budget for per day and per week for my transport fare? So I answered the first question. Okay, I go to work, but I have to drop off my kids at school. So he says you have a multi-stop daily routine, which means timing, reliability, and safety are really important, especially for your kids, especially because your kids are involved. Then do you use any app? It says, if yes, which one of the apps do you rely most on? Which one do you feel the pricing is fair? So he also asks, what's your weekly budget for transportation? So my answer was 4,000. And then he broke it down to basic fare, 320,000. Per kilometer, 93 naira. Per minute, 15 naira. Minimum fee, 700 naira. That's okay. Now I don't understand this. Okay, so he's saying that per month. Okay. is a whole lot of mathematics here. I'm not done, sir.
Okay, can we have somebody who thinks they are done? Quickly now, we want to leave here by 12. Guys, you are definitely not using ChatGPT. That one I know. Anybody else? People are afraid to tell us your, huh? All right.
He just lost his job. How can I be of help to him? Because he's deeply thinking. And he said, I'm really sorry you are going through this. Sorry. Losing a job can feel like a heavy blow, especially for a man who may feel the weight of responsibility. The fact that you are asking this already shows how supportive you want to be. Here are some ways you can help him through. Be a safe place for him emotionally. Let him talk without judgment. Sometimes he may not need solutions immediately, but just someone to listen to. Reassure him that his worth is not tied only to his job. It's still valuable to you, to your family, and to God. Encourage him gently, don't pressure. Practical partnership, then encourage. Balance. Spiritual support.
That's very good, but it's generic because she wasn't specific. Am I making sense? It's very generic. That's the answer it will give. Am I making sense? In that circumstance. But if she had been a little bit more detailed, am I making sense? She said, okay, we're fighting over this. Am I making sense? Because he has lost his job. You will see that the answers will go in a totally different direction. You get the point we're trying to make now? Do you understand how prompting is very, very important now? All right? I asked you to follow certain steps, and some of you skipped the steps. And that's why you're getting the kind of answer. Anybody else? We'll do one more before I invite. Yes, please come.
Good afternoon, everyone. What I did was I actually, usually I do my yearly medical test on a yearly basis. So for like 2 weeks now, I've been trying to get to see my consultant in Bambi, but they've been, it has been up and down. So I compared the test with what I had last year. But there is a very little difference in a particular when he mentioned that something is present. So I was so worried. In fact, I called them this morning again to be sure that the guy will be, the consultant will be available. They didn't pick up. So I got angry. So before now, I usually use this ChatGPT. So this morning, I just decided to prompt it that I actually snapped the result test and I put it on ChatGPT and I said, analyze this result test for me in a simpler way that I can understand. And then he brought it out and it analyzed everything and saying on the overall, he said this report looked mostly normal with only minor findings and that may not be a serious issue. And for every analysis that I pasted there, it shows me every result saying that it is okay, normal. Here he said normal, good kidney function. He also mentioned that often harmless. He was analyzing everything according to the test, and the page of the test was like almost 2 pages, and it's analyzed everything. Then he said overall impression, mostly normal report, no sugar, protein, or blood, kidney, or liver are fine. Slight increase in the result that I mentioned earlier. So, and he also gives me some suggestions by saying drink plenty of water, 2 to 3 liters daily, maintain a good personal hygiene. If you have any urinary symptoms, burning pain and all that, you should try and prescribe to get an antibiotics. If you have no symptom, it may resolve naturally. So this, for me, it has really helped me calm me down by not being overwhelmed with what
Can we do one more? I still want somebody with a real problem where they've seen a solution to their problem by simply engaging ChatGPT. Everybody's, a real issue that you didn't, somebody that you were blindsided before that AI now has shown you something you didn't consider before. You want to, okay, quick.
Sorry, Jesus, this one is long for me. Pastor, I didn't follow 100%, but let me read my prompt. I have a challenge with getting my teenage kids. My boy, 19 years, who is in second year computer science. My girl, 16 years, who just entered the university studying this course. To start living a life of focus, purpose, and discipline, and becoming a first-class graduate. Acting as an intelligent, pragmatic father, construct top 3 questions you would ask me as the father before you would develop a model to help me follow up and guide them to success, considering the generational gap. So it gave quite a few. That's a powerful, heartfelt mission, and you're in top 3. What are the questions? He gave me the questions first of all. What are their current habits, interests, and motivations, both academically and personal? For me, that's revealing. You need to also get to know them before you start solving things for them. So that will help me get closer. How do you currently communicate expectations, values, and feedback to them? And how do they respond? For me, it's also revealing that you need to create, this time to get all these things. What support systems and role models do they currently have? And what kind of environment do you want to build around them? So those are the top questions. And then it's asked further. Once I have your answers, I'll build a model that's not just intelligent and practical, but also emotionally attuned to your children's realities and your vision as a father. Would you like to answer these questions? So I asked some other, and he gave me another set of. So I think I'm going to continue this, maybe to build a model that I can also follow up. He's asking me, can he build a calendar for me of how to engage them, a schedule and all that? And I think I'm going to follow that one.
But you get the point. You get the point. If that's the only thing you leave here with this afternoon, it should change the way you use your AI, right? And you should be more productive. I want to ask this too. What are you doing here? So what have you gained so far?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm learning how to use AI. Yes.
You get my point, okay? So we have to start rounding up. I'm going to ask Dr. Degbola to say 1 or 2 things, and then we'll take questions. And then after that, I'm going to release you to go. I hope this is worth your while. Next week, we're going to move to entrepreneurship, and we're going to go more along the line, and then we'll still have business to look at. Which people say, what's the difference between entrepreneurship and business? Well, come and find out next week.
Well, let's start by appreciating. What's your name? What's your name? Myus. You went really Myus. Let's appreciate him. He's done a very, very good job of giving us a good overview of what AI is. And, well, I'll just round up. I'll say a few things, make a few comments, particularly because, I've found this thing that whenever you are around Pastor Francis, you need to, okay, where am I? Am I in church? Am I in? But since this is a church program,
I feel at ease to really to be churchy in what I'm going to say. First of all, let me say that artificial intelligence is not a new thing. I started teaching artificial intelligence in UI in 1990. Many people were not born then. So it's been there long, long, long before you were born. So it's not something new. So you have to, now that there are indications that it's becoming the real thing, you need to buck up. I remember working with a company in Lagos many years ago, involved in Nollywood, and we had brought into town some new equipment, and people kept coming to use our facilities to make better videos. And one of the prominent players in the field came one day, and I said, and you know what? His reply was, Olomagiato. May we not end up on a queue? Because he found that things were moving and he was stuck in pattern. So it's for you and I, may it not become an issue of being stuck in a queue. Yes, artificial intelligence has been there for a long time. The thing just struggling in the academic environment, trying to become something that is useful to society. But interesting, in 1950, a mathematician by the name of Alan Turing, British mathematician, thinking about artificial intelligence, said, if we can make a machine which you lock up in a room, and with a human being, you have a human being in the room, you have the machine in the room, and you have somebody in another room with communication with that room. And the person in the other room is discussing with that room, the room that has the machine and the person. And after a long time of discussion, this person cannot say whether he was talking to a machine or talking to a human being. Said we should regard the machine in that room as intelligent, because the machine has been able to fool a human being that he is, or it is a human being. So that was at the close to the beginning of the enterprise on artificial intelligence, and it went on and on and on. And for a long time, when people asked me, what do you teach? And I told them artificial intelligence, they either shrugged or said, what's that? You're always doing strange things. But within a month after ChatGPT, it was, Tunde, we now understand what you are talking about. So it meant that Alan Turing was right. It was when it got to something that had to do with language that it became something for everybody. And that's what we should take very, very important note of. Being a church program, I would like to make 1 or 2 points about artificial intelligence and our faith and what it means. As a scientist, I take science as a study of the Word of God. God said, let there be light, and there was light, and we started studying light. God said, let there be various things, and we study all these things. So we must see science as a study of the results of the Word of God. And it gets more interesting because there's a popular British Christian author of yesteryears, he died many years ago, by the name of C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis argued that Europe became a scientific part of the world and led the world in the scientific revolution because of Christianity. He said European scientists started expecting the world to work according to principles because they now believed in a God of order, a God that believed in principle, a God that runs the world based on principles. We as Christians, we enjoy God, we enjoy seeing God as a miracle worker. That actually is the exception. Miracles are God's exception. God runs the world on order. Even when God has pronounced, he sometimes refuses to undo what he has said. And like I always said, that was why God did not, out of his whims and caprice, obliterate the law of the soul that sinneth, it shall die. Rather than obliterate the law of you sin, you die, he raised another law, the law of life in Christ Jesus, that sets us free from the law of sin and death, which works just like the law of lift, counterbalances the law of gravity, and an aircraft with 200 people can fly 6 hours from Lagos to London and land when it chooses to land. That is the world in which we are living, and that is the God that we as Christians serve. Recently, some friends from America asked me to join them in a project to develop technologies around 2 languages. I've heard of one of them before. I've not heard of the other. One is called Dyula, D-Y-U-L-A, and the other one is called Baule. Because I know about Baule, it's a language spoken around Côte d'Ivoire. I suspect maybe Dyula too will be a language from Côte d'Ivoire. So I got in touch with my friend, a professor of linguistics at the Houphouët-Boigny University in Abidjan, and I said, I'm trying to gather data about these languages. And whilst I was waiting, I thought, why don't I ask ChatGPT? So I went and asked ChatGPT, I'm trying to collect data about this language for this and that reason, did all the due diligence in prompting. And within a few seconds, gave me like 3-4 pages. And what I found on the page was actually like writing a proposal to study that language. And I went through everything, I distilled it, I wrote a preliminary report and left it. And 2 days later, my friend got back to me and gave me information and various things. And I checked the information he gave me against what ChatGPT gave me, and it was exactly the same thing. Down to cost of hotels, down to how much I will need to rent an event room, to do workshops, to train the people who will go into the field to collect the language data and all that. So that is as useful as this thing has become. And whilst Myus was talking to us, talked extensively about prompting. You know, I do this series of videos with Sister Damola Adesina, titled God in Yoruba Experience, and we've done 2. We are now working on the 3rd one, and we used to go out into the open, do video skits and all that, commission people to do skits and paid for it. The last one, the latest edition, which will come out soon, that we are working on, not once have we had to go out to go and do video skits now. We just give information to the AI model and say, we want a video of this, that, and it comes back, ask a few questions, and the video is done. And say, oh no, the color of their clothes is not matching with what we had in mind. Then it goes back and does more things, and just keeps going on and on like that, on and on like that. And we find that things are happening. The present edition is going to cost probably less than half of what the earlier ones have cost, because we are not paying anybody to act in videos. We are not paying people to come and shoot videos. We are not paying for lights. We are not begging people not to make noise so that we can finish before. Everything is just getting done with so much ease. And I just like to particularize on one point that Myus made about this being a creative partner. That AI is supposed to be to us like a creative partner. Creativity is one of the attributes we share with God, being made in his image. In fact, one of God's name is Creator, the Creator. So each time we create, we are playing out our feature as being made in the image of God. We are acting in God's image each time we create. Now, when God made us and he gave us instructions, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue the earth, he was asking us to be co-creators with him. So in our developing devices that can be co-creators with us, we are still playing that role. We are still playing out our nature of being made in God's image. The fact that what we are talking about is artificial in itself underlies that fact that it is a creative process. The root of the word artificial is art. Art is anything that is made creatively. It's something that the mind of human beings created. And that's why what archaeologists work with, they are referred to as artifacts. That means things made by the hands of men, artifacts. In Yoruba, they are referred to as atowoda, made by hands, made through the manipulation of human hands. Whenever you walk either in a bush somewhere or in some town somewhere and you see certain things, you can say, a human has passed through here. Because you see something that is not natural. Something that couldn't have made itself. Something that you can say this is a result of human creativity, a result of human intelligence, and we refer to it as an artifact. So that is a very, very important connection between what we are talking about, artificial intelligence, and playing our role as co-creators with God, playing out our character as being made in God's image. I'm saying all this because sometimes Pastor Francis is like 20 years ahead of us, and if those of us who happen to be just 19 years behind him explain it to you who are 20 years behind, it might just continue to sound oblique. So that's why I'm going through all this. we are not here doing some frivolous things. We are here exercising our responsibility as Christians, as salt of the earth and light of the world. We are here doing what God demands of us to do as Christians, to be able to fulfill that role of being salt of the earth and light of the world. This thing about creativity is so important that if you look deeply into what's going on with artificial intelligence, Myus has given us a very, very good bird's eye view. But when you look deeply into what's happening, you find that it just comes back to this thing about exercising our God-given capacity to be creators. A few years ago, definitely before COVID, it was definitely before COVID, I was involved in a program developing curricula and syllabi for a university for their master's and PhD programs in artificial intelligence. And I was leading a number of people writing materials. And one of the people writing the material I found rather, he just wants things to go his own way, and we got into an argument. And it was clear what he was saying didn't make sense, but he was saying it with so much confidence. And I thought, okay, the only way to put this man where he belongs is I'm going to write to people he's been quoting and ask them and pose the question I'm posing to him, for which he is saying, according to so and so. So you probably know the name Geoff Hinton. That's the man that got the Nobel Prize recently for developing neural networks, which is at the core of artificial intelligence today. And the problem I was having with this man was that he said something like, with data, the algorithm changes. Now, it is true that whenever anything lands, that thing changes. If you learn and you did not change, I'm sorry, you have not learned. Learning means to change. Learning is a change in your state of knowing. If you have not changed, you have not learned. So I queried that, look, the algorithm cannot learn because it has not changed. If the algorithm has not changed, the algorithm has not learned. What learns is the model the algorithm has built. The algorithm, funnily, by virtue of the English program, is referred to as a learning algorithm. Now, you can misunderstand that, talking about learning algorithm, feeling that it is the algorithm that learns. But no, the learning algorithm is the algorithm that the model uses to learn. So I wrote Geoff Hinton and said, what do you think about this? Somebody is misquoting you and saying that you imply that the algorithm learns. Then Geoff Hinton replied and said, the algorithm doesn't learn. And he hesitated and said something like, generally. And immediately I knew he wasn't saying everything he knew, because I too didn't say everything I knew. I didn't tell him what I was working on. I didn't tell him that I was working on algorithms that change. And I left it like that. So when recently he got the Nobel Prize for physics, and looking at the things they've been doing, it remains that this thing about creativity, this thing about making things learn is at the core of this whole thing about artificial intelligence. So I'm saying all that because so far, all we have seen, all the wonders we have seen with artificial intelligence has been a result of models learning. We have not seen the results of algorithms learning. We have not seen results of algorithms changing by themselves. But today, in the world of large language models and transformers, you can ask a large language model to write you an algorithm, and it will write it. If a large language model can write an algorithm, it can make that algorithm evolve. So I said this just to encourage you. Emato, don't go and queue. The world is moving. We are in the state we find ourselves today is described as the information age. And they say we live in the information society. And how did we get into the information age and the information society? We got in the information age and the information society by virtue of an information revolution. What is a revolution? A revolution is a change of high intensity and fast pace. The intensity is high. The pace is fast. When you find yourself in a situation of high intensity and fast pace, it is not in that situation that you start deciding what to do. You must decide what to do before it comes, so that when it happens, yeah, this is what I decided to do. This is what I will do. This is what I will do. That is where we are today. Emato. If you find yourself on a queue in this process, you are beginning to fail in your Christian responsibilities. Maybe only 1 or 2 pastors in Ibadan, maybe 5, 10 in Nigeria will bring people together in a church to be discussing these kind of things. Just one is enough for God to judge the world, though, because we've told you, artificial intelligence is here to stay. It is just any other tool that human beings have made. A knife as a tool can be used to do surgery and can be used to stab somebody in the heart. One saves, the other destroys. Every tool that human beings have made behaves like that. Tools are neutral. It is what the human mind uses it for that makes a tool behave in a negative way or in a positive way. Anything about artificial intelligence being a tool that the devil has created is a total misunderstanding of what is going on. Artificial intelligence is just any other tool. Granted, every tool works as powerful as it is. So if a tool is very powerful, it can do good very powerfully and can do evil very powerfully. Artificial intelligence is a very, very powerful tool. It behoves of us as people called by the name of God to ensure that the good it will do in society will far outstrip any evil, outweigh any evil that anybody will want to use it to do, to the extent that it is what we use it to do that will counterbalance what any person that is thinking negatively will want to use it to do. That is why God has called us here today as a church to be the salt and light for Ibadan, nay, Nigeria, Africa, the world. Don't be surprised that you will say things probably on the internet, and somebody from somewhere in the world will say, wow, that's a powerful statement from a Christian. That is what God has placed within our reach here as members of TBN. It is great responsibility. We cannot afford to abdicate it. That's my word.
Do much better than that. Let's appreciate Dr. Adegbola. Of course, let's appreciate Mr. Myus and the media team. I have harassed the life out of him the last 1 week because I told him we had a standard we were not going to fall below. So next week is another challenge. We're going to apply AI to entrepreneurship. And you've been blessed. Could you bring somebody? Is that okay? I'm happy with the turnout, but I was hoping to see more outsiders than church members. So you people have finally repented. They're showing up for useful programs. So thank you all very much for that. I'm impressed because normally you don't show up. Now, we're closing now. Any questions that you want to ask, you can direct the questions to either Myus or to Dr. Adegbola and leave me out of it. I will preach tomorrow. Anybody have any questions you want to ask quickly? There's a group called Waiting Be AI. There's what do they call it? If you can find the logo, and then there's WhatsApp group. In that group, if you join the group, there's a link to a place called Waiting Be AI on the Flipboard. I update Flipboard maybe 3-4 times a day. The latest developments on AI, including the new Comet that has come out, including the new Sonar 2. There's a new Sonar 2 image generator by OpenAI. By the way, ChatGPT means two things. One of it can mean template, and the other time it can mean general purpose technology. A general purpose technology is a technology that affects almost every industry, from medical and so on and so forth. GPT is not something that is owned by GPT. Am I making sense? So you got to understand what it's all about. So we're part of a group called Waiting Be AI. It has a site where every day from 3 to 4 updates, because this technology changes very quickly. So I update it everywhere. And the funny thing about it is, since I set up that particular Flipboard page, I've had more people from outside this country, thousands of people are trying to join that group and gain what we have shared than Nigerians, because we're very slow to accept technology. But God is helping us. Amen? And so please join the group. Can you put up the WhatsApp group for them? You can put there's a Waiting Be AI, whatever. Find the old from the last meeting. Then you can just scan it, join the WhatsApp group, and then you can ask questions there. All right? So if you have any other thing you want to ask, please, Myus will be here. Dr. Adegbola will be here for a few more minutes. You can walk up to them. Are you blessed? All right. So who's going to come and give us a vote of thanks? Please come and help us say thank you to these people so that we can close.
Amen. Praise God. Okay. Reminding myself that I'm still in church. I made it a point of duty to come because I wanted to really learn this. So I want to say a big thank you to our lecturer for the day. I don't think that's enough. Usually these things we pay for. Usually these things we pay for, really, and you pay big time for. We don't know the value we get in this type of church. I've never seen this kind of church. That you come to get, things that you would ordinarily pay big time for to learn. And, there's a philosophy that when you pay for it, you tend to value it more. Right? But I think that we need to start changing our mindset, right? So that we can start deriving benefits from, people like this. So thank you very much. I mean, we don't take it for granted. We want to thank Pastor and the anniversary team for coming up with this. We don't take it for granted. Thank you so much for seeing the need to bring this kind of topic that is so generational, that is so transformative. So, Pastor, thank you so much. And we want to thank, like Pastor has said, everyone that came. Please, let's invite others. The evidence of growth is increase. The Bible says we should be fruitful and we should multiply. So let's show that by inviting others, sharing the testimony of what we have learned so that others can also come. Thank you.